it's Jen, and I'm back with a new process video for Elle's studio using the October kit and some of the extras. So I have the little journaling tags pulled out for the kit, and then I printed this huge oversized, I printed an 8.5 by 11 photo of my nephew feeding his little brother a bite of his popsicle, and I just thought it was adorable and thought I would document that. And what I wanted to do was create some sort of pattern on the background using this I Heart Right Now stamp from the stamp set, and there is a coordinating die that goes with it as well. And so I'm going to stamp this in a variety of colors and put it on the background. That's my kind of thought for this layout. And I'm thinking about also tucking in some of these tags either at the top or on the side, just to kind of give a little something extra to the layout. So I might tuck in some of those. So that is the plan, and I am going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and get started.
Okay, so I'm going to start by playing around with some of the cards, because even though I know that I want to do all that stamping on the background, I don't know what colors I want to use yet. So I'm trying to decide which cards I want to use so I know what colors to stamp in. And I'm just trimming off, there was a little bit of a white border on my photo, and so I'm just trimming that off a little bit because I have it on a white background, so I don't really feel like I need that white border. And I wanted just a little bit of extra space for me to put some more embellishment, so I cut a little bit off the bottom. So it ends up being about 8 by 11 when the photo does when I'm done. So now I've kind of decided that I wanted to use those blues and grays and the orange cards, and so I'm just choosing some colors of ink. I have a lot of Close to My Heart inks. I used to work for Close to My Heart, so that's mostly what I have. But I'm also going to use an Elle Edwards Crafters ink in Tillamook, which is a nice orange color. So I'm using an older Close to My Heart orange. I'm using Close to My Heart in Glacier, Sapphire, and then Whisper, and then the Tillamook from Elle Edwards. So this is a new stamp I haven't used before, so you may have seen me kind of rubbing it on the back of my hand. That's how I season my new stamps, and basically what I'm doing is just getting off the residue that's left from the manufacturing process. You can do that by also taking an eraser to it, but my hand's just handy, and so I just use the back of my hand and it's fine. So I'm just stamping it out like 3 or 4 times in each color. And I really, really love the way that these colors end up looking together. That kind of darker orange with the light orange is just really awesome. Now, the Elle Edwards Crafters inks they're more of a pigment ink, so they're more of a paint-like ink and they sit on the surface, whereas the other inks are dye inks, so they sink into the paper. And they both end up looking really good, but if you're looking for maybe a really solid looking image, the Crafters inks are amazing. And I'll link to all of the products in the video description. So my background paper that I'm using is American Crafts white textured cardstock. And so what I stamped all of those on was just some scraps of the American Crafts white textured cardstock, but I'm using the back side of the cardstock because it has less texture. Just kind of as an FYI, it's better to stamp on a non-textured surface, I think. So I'm using my diamond press to just cut these out really quick. That's just a little mini die cutting machine. And so I'm just using the coordinating label die that Elle's Studio sells. And again, I'll link to all of these products. And it coordinates perfectly with the stamp. So I just ran it through all of those times. I skipped forward so you didn't have to watch me do that. And now I'm kind of arranging these in a pattern. And I'm going to keep the colors in a specific order. But I'm varying them from row to row, and you can see kind of how I'm doing that there. And I really, really love the way that this ends up looking. Now I'm doing it at the top right now, and I'm trying to decide if I want them to go all the way across the page and go off the edge, or if I want them to all be full labels. And I really like the way that looks, but I decided that I really wanted to tuck in the journaling cards at the top of the photo, and it's just too much like this. And so what I decide to do, well, I'm playing around with this for a second here, but it just seems really busy. And so what I decided to do was to flip it all upside down. Now I just turned my paper to see if I like it better. And now I'm flipping all of the labels because I can tell that I already do. So I will end up placing all of these little label shapes that I cut out at the bottom of the page instead of at the top. And I really like the way that looks. And as I put that on the bottom, there you can see me kind of holding my hands out to decide if I want to put the labels all the way across. And I decide that I do. And so now I'm going to play around with these little cards at the top here, trying to decide what exactly will work. I really like that love card, and what I'm going to do is cut it down so that I can put it directly on the photo and put my journaling on it. And so I just kind of make it so that the word love is centered on that card. And so now it's just kind of like a little strip where I have lines to journal. And I like the way that ends up looking. It seems like a lot of orange right next to each other there at the top, but I will fix that in a little bit and you'll see that. So I'm kind of using my ruler at the bottom to just help me kind of center these and place them correctly. And I want them to be fairly straight. I don't usually use a ruler, but every once in a while I want something to be pretty straight. And since the photo is going to be resting on top of these, I need kind of a nice baseline for it. And so I'm just using my ruler to make sure that I get it all straight. And it's not exactly perfect, and that's totally fine. I just need it to be good enough. So I'm using a little bit of adhesive on the backs of all of these. That's a Tombow dot runner. And then I take it over to my sewing machine and I'm just sewing straight down the middle of each one of those labels with some white thread. And you can totally still see what the words say because I used the white thread, and I really love that look. And I'll end up later going back and kind of because I stitched them down, I can kind of lift the edges of the labels so that it gives it a little bit of texture. And I just really love that look. So I'm using some washi tape to just tape down the edges of the thread on the back. And that's something I do pretty much every time I stitch. And just using a washi tape that I probably won't use. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite. I keep it around for this purpose. Let's just say that. So I'm taking a little bit more off the edge. It seemed a little bit crooked or something. And now I'm just going to adhere my photo down to the back of my layout, resting it on top of all of those labels. So now I'm going to go ahead and play with the cards at the top. I'm cutting this card down because I think maybe I can use the bottom part on another layout or something. And I like to, get the most out of these cards. And so I'm just cutting them down a little bit and trying to decide how I can arrange them here. I kind of want Remember This Moment to be my title. And so I'm just making sure I'm also using that little card that says notes from this month, and I want the month that this actually is in to show, which is October. And so I'm just arranging it so that it works out. I'm using a few of these little acrylic stars for accents, and I really like the blue. Since I don't have a blue card, I like the addition of the blue stars here. I also pulled out a few of the die cuts from the October kit that had blue on them, the tag, and then that little word that says enjoy. And those add a little pop of blue as well. So I mentioned before that there was a lot of orange going on with those two tags right next to each other. So I covered the little hexagon up with another hexagon die cut, and it fit perfectly and just left a little orange border. And so I'm really happy with that. I decided to add a small cluster of embellishment to the right of the photo, and I used the little bit of extra of that kind of teal card, and I'm just placing a few more die cuts and stars down there. So just like another small little pop of something. I'm thinking about using some of these wood pieces, but they just don't end up working out here, and that's totally fine. I usually add too much stuff, so it's good if not everything works. So I am looking at the stamps again because I'm thinking I want to stamp something on that tag at the top, but I decide that what I really want to stamp on it is the date. So I grab my roller date stamp, and I'm using that Tillamook ink just so I can bring a little bit of that bright orange up to the top, and just stamping the date 3 times on that card or on that tag and tucking it back into place. And I don't show it in the video, but I will eventually add like a string to that tag. I just add a white string. So I felt like that white hexagon wasn't standing out enough at the top because it's white on white on white. And so I decided to outline it with just a gray marker. And I like the way that looks so much more. So I end up gluing that all together, and then I'm stitching across the word enjoy, just like I stitched right through the labels at the bottom. And that just brings a little bit of that stitched element up to the top and makes it feel kind of more cohesive. So I'm also outlining the little more of this circle that I'm going to place in the bottom cluster just for repetition. I think that's important for a cohesive layout, and I needed that in one more area. And then I'm popping it up on some foam squares, and I'm also going to pop up the back of the Enjoy little cluster thing that I made, and you'll see that here in a sec. So I'm just kind of tucking and arranging my layers again. I want to make sure that Remember This Moment is nice and level. And then just tucking in that little striped piece as well and my tag there. So I circled the month of October on the Notes from This Month card. And then here's where I'm going to place down my journaling. I went ahead and wrote it off camera, and I'm just putting some pop dots above or behind the hexagon there, so that there are a couple of things popped up on this layout. Now I'm just going to work on my bottom cluster, and that one's again going to be really simple, just a couple of stars. And I'm using some adhesive. It's called Mixed Media Adhesive by Thermoweb, and if you have sequins or acrylics or anything like that you want to adhere, that adhesive is so strong. It is the best. It is my new favorite for adhering anything like that, anything non-porous. I super love it. I added some staples just with my tiny attacher, and now you can see I'm kind of ruffling up the edges of the labels and the word Enjoy, just where I've done the stitching. I love the texture that brings. So now I am almost done, and I'm just feeling I'm a more is more kind of girl, and usually anyway, and I'm just feeling like this needs just a little something more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some old Tattered Angel spray mist in tin can, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on the top left and the bottom right in those little clusters, and that is going to finish everything up for me here. So I hope that you have enjoyed. There's some still photos coming up. If you have any questions, head over to shopelliestudio.com, and don't forget that you can now subscribe to the kits. So if you love the kits each month, there's now a subscription option available, which is super awesome. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.